Eagles Entertainment.
Welcome, Eagles everywhere, to the Eagles Insider Podcast, presented by Lincoln Financial Group. Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro with you. Our final Thursday of the month of May. Eagles continuing in Week 5, actually wrapping up Week 5 of the offseason conditioning program, virtually, of course. We're going to hear from one of the leaders of this football team in this podcast, entering his 11th season as a Philadelphia Eagle. Brandon Graham will join the podcast in a bit. We're also going to introduce you to a new podcast series that we are starting with our Eagles Entertainment brand. It's called Return Game, presented by NovaCare Rehabilitation. And in it, we're going to take a look at some of the iconic Eagles games in history. First up, the House of Pain game, 1991. I was there. I'll talk here with Merrill Reese, with Seth Joyner about that game just very briefly, and we'll tease it. The podcast will launch on Friday. It is a great series, one of many to come, so make sure you enjoy that. I also want to involve you, and thank you for listening to the Eagles Insider Podcast. We're going to start a mailbag, and the way it's going to work is I direct you to go to the Eagles Insider account on Twitter, at Eagles Insider. Use the hashtag Insider Podcast and just ask a question. It can be a question that I can answer. It can be a question that you want me to go get answered for you, a question for a player or a member of the organization, head coach Doug Peterson, general manager Howie Roseman, whoever it may be. Get your questions into our mailbag here, and we will periodically run through those questions, get you the answers, and have a lot of fun with it. Once again, go to the Eagles Insider account on Twitter, at Eagles Insider. Use the hashtag Insider Podcast, and I will go search through those for the best questions and get the answers for you right here on the Eagles Insider Podcast, presented by Lincoln Financial Group. Let's start the podcast with a tease. I've been working on reaching out to all 10 draft picks to talk about what they think about their new jersey numbers. And I reached number 1 draft pick Jalen Reagor this week, and here's a bit of what he had to say about jersey number 18.
Am I superstitious with numbers? No, I'm not. In high school, I wore number 1. Then I got to college and I had to wear number 18. So, I'm not superstitious with numbers at all. Because my junior year, I chose to switch to the number 1. And originally, I wanted that when I first got to college because it was my high school number. But no, I'm not suspicious with numbers at all. I feel like the player makes the number, and I'm looking forward to do that in 18 for the Philadelphia Eagles.
So again, in just a short amount of time here, once I get the final Eagles draft pick under wraps here, talking about his jersey number, we'll have that What's in a Jersey Number podcast for you right here on the Eagles Insider Podcast. Also, want to let you know that on Monday, John Ferrari, who is in charge of the Eagles compliance, will be joining the podcast talking about rules changes in effect for the NFL in 2020. And we're going to find out very shortly here what those rules changes are going to be and how they impact the game. So John will join me for Monday's podcast. That will be a great listen. Let's turn it over now to somebody I've talked to a lot in this offseason, one of our favorite Eagles players who made this incredible play in Super Bowl 52.
Uh-oh. Brady gets hit. The ball is out, and Philadelphia has it. Brandon Graham was one of the guys who got in there.
Hi, Eagles everywhere. I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro, coming to you from my NovaCare Complex virtual studio, and I'm joined by Eagles defensive end Brandon Graham, who I have spent so much time in this offseason with on these Zoom calls with our season ticket members. And Brandon, it's interesting. You really allow fans to see your world, your family, inside your home. And I'd like to start with that. Why is that so important for you to have that relationship with the fan base?
Just to let them know that, we appreciate them, and just to, for them, following us, welcome into the, life of, what we do. Normal people, have similar interests in for some people, and just, you just want to have that connection, especially while you're playing.
And BG, for you, you're going through the same thing that we're all going through here into our 3rd month of this quarantine. What have you learned about yourself, and what has this period of time taught you?
I've been trying to, read a lot more. I've been picking up more books and trying to, occupy my time other than my phone, so that's been helpful. Work, like really showing how much you really love football with me working, working out, because you have to adjust and you have to go through virtual workouts. You can't, in the beginning it was tough because you gotta find that stuff within, especially if you need somebody there to push you. Sometimes I feel like, it only made me stronger, in my mind even more than I was before.
BG, how are those workouts going, and what kind of shape are you in? Are you in pretty much the same kind of shape you'd be in a normal off season?
I think so. I think I've been working really hard. Haven't taken any days off. Really wish I could get a massage because usually I incorporate that during this time, but it's all good. I've been grinding, been going hard, making sure that I do my part with normateching my legs and, stretching and trying to, you got more time now. So it's pretty much your choice to, on how you gonna handle your body. So I try to make sure I make the right choice and take care of it.
What you don't have is work on the field. And I wonder, do you miss getting out there in those OTAs and running around and just kind of getting a sense of what the defense can be?
Yeah, it you really appreciate it a lot more. It depends on how you look at it. Some people like, well, let's see how this is, and if things go right, maybe we don't have a OTA, you know what I'm saying, during the off season, but it just feels long, real long. It's cool, I get it, but I do like this time before, because you kind of get those camp feet before you even get to camp, and you kind of know what to expect, and you just kind of pick up where you left off, and you can kind of hit the ground running at that point because it's game time.
What has Doug done? I know in the past, you have the contests at the NovaCare complex, and you have the championship belt go to the champion after the end of the offseason program. What has Doug done to build camaraderie in a virtual world? Do you feel that you guys are creating that even though you can't physically touch each other?
Well, we've been able to talk to different motivators, like, Steve Kerr, and now you see we had Phil Jackson. And so being able to, keep everybody motivated. I feel like as a head coach, you got to be a great motivator. And so only thing it made me want to do is, work harder today at my workout and, take it one day at a time, continue to enjoy this time before July sneak up on us. And then we back kind of doing our thing again. And so I think that, the biggest thing is making sure that you motivate your guys, and I think that's a check off the box right there, because Doug has done that, and kept in contact and having open communication with what's going on and how we're gonna do things. So as long as you stay on the same page and keep everybody focused, I think Doug done a good job of that. You headed in the right direction. We kind of address everything when we get back together.
What do you get out of hearing Steve Kerr and Phil Jackson? They were NBA champions as players and as coaches. What do you get out of hearing those guys speak to the team?
You start to compare and see what you already kind of got that you know is right, and then you kind of go with some new things that you like. Oh man, I think we can kind of do some of this stuff. I think we're doing some of this already, and so we just got to make sure that we don't let this happen if this happened. If they give us a scenario or different things that happen on the team that if they didn't address, then it would have went this way. I was just even thinking about like when you watch the Utah game against the Bulls, and how film study right now, get into your film study. Like Michael Jordan knew Karl Malone was gonna get the ball, and in this moment, and he set up a certain way, and I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna steal it. You know what I'm saying? Because he ain't gonna see me. And I heard Phil say before he called a timeout before that play happened, and said, if we get the ball back, what you gonna do? Do y'all want to take a timeout, or do you want to keep it running? And like right now, we can get ahead on film study. That's what I'm saying. Like he was just saying, like I want to take Michael Jordan has said, "Hey, I want to keep it going because they know us to take a timeout and call a play, and so they can be ready for it." And they was good at being ready for it, but they was like, to switch it up on them, they went and didn't call a timeout, and then the greatest play happened. So I just feel like get your film study in, try to take advantage of this time, what we've been doing. And I think Doug has done a good job of just voicing all that stuff.
Well, these are tricks of the trades that veterans like you can use. BG, you have never recorded a double-digit sack season in your career. Is that something that's important to you 11 years into the NFL?
Yeah. Get stronger as I continue to keep going, and so double digits, man, that just let me know I'm getting stronger, and so I think that, man, I really believe it's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than later.
Well, I got to tell you, you're only 3 sacks ahead of Fletcher Cox in the all-time Eagles rankings. And I asked Fletch this as well. Do you think it's important to you that you finish ahead of Fletcher in all-time sacks when both of your careers are ended? And are you going to put a wager on this at some point?
That would be cool, especially if it, I plan on taking off soon. This year though, so I'm gonna try to definitely make a wager on it. If he take over, if he get ahead of me, I'll make a wager on it, and that'll only push me.
Yeah, hey, BG, I wonder, do you have a sense at all? I know you're not on the field. I know it's way early, but do you have a sense at all about this defense and what you could be?
I know what it sounds like, from what we talk about as a D-line already on Zoom, but we got to go prove it, and so that's one thing I can't wait for. I really do believe we got some talent in our room, and it's just all about how we work together, how we can push each other and, correct each other when things, aren't so good. So that's what I'm more so ready for. And you only know that when you go through stuff. So right now, I'm expecting, just us just to be us, and let us kind of police what we need to police and what we see that we need to work on, and just be true to what you say, and be a man of your word. You say you want to go there, you want to do this, push you here, then let's do that, and so I think that we will be fine in our room, man. We the leaders of the team. D-line, O-line, usually the leaders of the team start with us. And so if everybody see us pushing and going hard and talking back and forth and having fun, it'll be infectious. And, who knows what you can get out your players when everybody's running around competing.
And finally, BG, I know you've worked out with Darius Slay in this offseason, and I wondered what kind of questions he asks, what kind of level of excitement that he has about joining this football team. Your sense of Darius and the fit that he's going to have at the NovaCare complex?
I'm excited for him, man. You're going to get a funny guy. He is funny. He's fun. Somebody that's going to work hard every day. Competitor, because when you out there on the island, you got to compete, and then you got to make sure that you continue. Like, I think that Slay, with me talking to him, they got him up to speed. He knows what to expect. He played with Swartz before, and so that's a bonus. He kind of understands what Swartz like to do, and so all they doing is kind of refreshing his memory on stuff and giving him the new terminology for different things that he probably already knew.
BG, thank you so much for your time. Continued good luck throughout this offseason. Can't wait to see you back at the NovaCare complex.
Appreciate you, man. Have fun at your virtual house, Eagles NovaCare.
Yeah, this is my NovaCare complex virtual studio. I don't leave the house. Studio. I just do it all from here.
Yeah,
that's right. You got to get you one.
Yep, I know.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Thanks,
to be
BG.
everywhere. I'm all in my closet, everywhere.
Thanks so much, man. Take care. Okay, that is great stuff there from BG. Thank you very much for that, Brandon Graham. Now let's get you kind of ready to go with this new podcast that we do have coming out. It's going to be a great one because, look, as much as we are excited about the present of the Philadelphia Eagles and what this team is capable of doing, we're also really excited about the games we've seen in the past. So many of them, right? Just some great games, great moments. And we're kind of encapsulating all of them in what we call Return Game, presented by NovaCare Rehabilitation. And we're looking back at some of the great, iconic games in Eagles history. First up, from 1991, Buddy Ryan gone. Rich Kotite here. The Eagles offense, a mess, but the defense was awesome. And they went out to Houston late season game, trying to make a playoff run, and they ripped up on the Houston Oilers in a game that we call the House of Pain. Why was it called the House of Pain? Well, we'll let Merrill Reese, the voice of the Philadelphia Eagles then and now, give you a bit of the history of what it all meant.
I will never forget Andre Waters went around the locker room screaming, "They'll bring the house, we'll bring the pain." The whole week, "They'll bring the house, we'll bring the pain." And boy, if they didn't. I can remember a hit by Wes Hopkins and Ernest Givens that you don't know how he ever got up. It was one thing after another. The thing about that was the game that was as intense as any of I have ever seen. And sometimes in a game you remember a great hit, like the playoff game against the Saints. You still remember the great hit by Sheldon Brown on Reggie Bush, but nothing throughout the game from beginning to end. The pounding and the headhunting was unbelievable.
From a player's standpoint, it was all about the defense, and nobody had a better game than Seth Joyner, who was absolutely dominant. A couple of sacks, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. He played sick, and he played one of his best games ever. And he talks about why that game was such a big moment in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles then and now, why it means so much, and why defense leads the way in Philadelphia.
That game, along with the body bag games, really signifies in totality the dominance of our defense and the dominance of our defense in that era. And it kind of set the stage for how that defense would be looked at and how all future generations of defenses will be judged. I mean, listen, for us as a unit, it was monumental. I mean, because we literally took apart an offense that no one else in the NFL could handle or could deal with. And then lastly, it was a major game for myself, from a statistical standpoint. It's probably the greatest statistical game that I ever played. So, I mean, I guess, from a history standpoint, Philadelphia Eagles fans can always, go back to YouTube or whatever venue, they like to watch that game in and really see the dominance and understand, in a lot of ways from a defensive perspective. That's what Philadelphia Eagles defense, looks like. That's what it should look like.
That will do it for this episode of the Eagles Insider Podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. Thanks so much to Peter Kelly, to Ray Doyle, and to John Ganode for helping me track down Jalen Reagor for his What's in a Jersey reaction. We'll have more of that coming your way. And reminder, on Monday, you won't want to miss John Ferrari, who is in charge of the Eagles compliance, talking about the new rules changes for the 2020 season. Yeah, we're hopeful. We think it's going to happen. Stay tuned here on the Eagles Insider Podcast. I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro. Thanks so much for joining, everyone. Have yourselves a great Eagles day, and fly, Eagles, fly.
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!